Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about something that I channeled while working with Satan. And this has to do with the infernal feminine. Now we talk a lot about the divine feminine, and what I find is that when we're talking about the divine feminine, we're kind of talking a little bit more about the the sacred feminine and that. And I'm not talking about feminine in a gendered term. I'm talking about it conceptually as what we define as the divine feminine and things like that. And I find a lot of that falls more into like the nurturing mother, the goddess, the healer, and things like that. But it's also, in a way, while it's embracing femininity, it's also erasing the darker side of femininity. And it is, like all things, a matter of balancing the dark with the light. Because we're not all, one or the other. It's somewhere varying shades in between. So one of the things I started talking about, and this was an interesting conversation to have with Satan, so I'm going to, and this was through my astral workings. So I had visited Satan's crypt and throne room, and I'm going to go a little bit more about working with Satan in another video. I just wanted to break this out into its own thing, because I think it's something that's really worth discussing, especially as I've been path working with the dark goddesses like Lilith, Hecate, Astarte, started working with a little bit with Medusa and Freya as well. And there's plenty of other ones, from different pantheons and things like that. So in the astral realm, I visited Satan's throne room in his crypt. And, in this, I've seen different entities you work with will appear in different manifestations in different ways. In this particular location, he's almost like a stone monument, like a sculptural figure, and it's not, he moves sometimes, but not, like I'm moving right now and talking and things like that. It's almost more of like a telepathic communication. But for some reason, I went to Satan for love advice. So I was talking to him about the concept of love, and, this overwhelming need that I have, because earlier in my path working, I think Belial had said that my greatest strength is also my greatest weakness, and that is my need to love and to be loved. So, and that's something that's come up a long time, that I love so intensely that I often deplete myself, and that I need to love myself the way I love others. So that's something I've been working on in my path working. Yeah, the Satanism thing's totally evil, like, oh my God, can I tell you? So I asked Satan about love. I was like, do you feel love? Is there a Mrs. Satan? Those things that you just sort of, your mind kind of wonders, like, occasionally I'll find little, like, middle of the night, half awake Facebook posts like, do demons wear underpants? So is there a Mrs. Satan? And, in this working, Satan revealed that he has 9 wives, as a matter of speaking. I think one of the things is like marriage is a human construct and things like that. So, and as he had revealed this in his throne room, it's sort of like the shadows on the walls kind of lifted, and they all were kind of surrounding as well. Sort of in the same manifestation that he was, as sort of these like stone sculptural figures. So he spoke of his first wife. She has no name, as she predates civilization and language, both written and spoken. They came into being at the same time. I channeled a name for her, because I was like, well, we can't just call her Mrs. Satan, or Wifey number 1, or something like that. And what I ended up coming up with, and what's interesting about both variations of what I channeled, is they're all also Roman numerals, which was weird. So the first one, I have no idea even how to pronounce this, is XXLYIX, or ZXLYIX. So, Zizlix? Xlix? I have no idea. He also mentioned, and I don't know this as you will. He also mentioned the biblical Eve as one of his wives. And he sort of smirked something like, she gave birth to Cain, the father of murder. Do you think that was God's doing? But, anyways, I don't know if technically she's one of his wives, or he's just claiming it for hell, you know? So we spoke of the infernal feminine, in contrast to the divine feminine. Feminine, as I mentioned, expands beyond gender. And it's embracing our shadow selves, our darkness, not apologizing for embracing our sexuality, our feelings, our emotions, our power, our voices, our bodies. The divine feminine is more about embracing our light. The infernal feminine is about embracing and integrating it all, the light and the dark. And that seems to be an overarching theme in a lot of my pathworking, is balancing the light and the dark together. So now this does not give excuse to be abusive of any of our darker traits by any means. But, thinking of it like the infernal concept of love is intense, fiery, not submissive, egalitarian. Emotions and feelings, not apologizing for our legitimate feelings, good or bad. And we apologize too much for how we feel things. And I know I'm guilty of that. I start so many things, I'm sorry, but, I'm sorry you hurt me. I think sometimes in our society we're kind of taught to over-apologize for feeling the way we feel, or thinking the way we think, or perceiving things the way we do, because somehow we're wrong. So we're also within the infernal feminine is embracing our sexuality, not sublimating our desires and sexuality without fear or criticism. So it's having powers over our natural abilities to infer magic and to use infernal divine energies to manipulate reality through magic, with or without intention or ritual. Now, sometimes I find personally, I've been able to manifest things just simply by shouting into the ether. Like, I don't have to usually do like some kind of complicated money magic ritual to manifest money. Like, I've literally just been like, God, could I just not owe anyone more money? And, took my car to the shop, picked it up the next day, and was expecting to pay like over $200 for the work I had done. And they were like, yeah, didn't have to pay anything. And it just happened this week. I'm like, I could really use an extra $500 this week. Got home and there was a check in the mail for $500 from an insurance claim for when my house flooded, or my basement flooded. So it's just little things like that. Like sometimes like I'll think something and then it happens. It's not always that way. Sometimes I wish it was, but But it's an intensity to our energetics, light and dark, that, sometimes it's like, I don't have to hex or curse someone in some, ritualistic manner. Like when you send that energy out into the universe, you can cause things to happen. And that goes, either way. What you put out affects things. So again, another element of the infernal feminine is bodily autonomy. We own our bodies, minds, hearts, spirits, and souls 100%. That's across the board. Our shadows, our darkness, our light work together and should not be isolated. 1. So this is something I really want to delve into more, as I've done a lot of the shadow work and a lot of things pathworking, not only with the 9 demonic gatekeepers, but also the dark goddesses, is really looking at the nature of light and dark and the shadows and highlights that lie in between. And I think when we talk about the divine feminine, there's some erasure going on with the infernal feminine. We're not talking about our stretch marks and our, the fucked up things we've gone through and things like that. So, and again, feminine doesn't have to apply to the woman gender or any gender, because men embrace the divine feminine as well. And, so I'm sensitive to putting things into binary buckets, as it were. So when I talk about things like the divine feminine, divine masculine, infernal feminine, etc., like that, it's broad. Anyone can embrace it, no matter how you identify. So that being said, this is something personally on my path I'm looking at embracing further and exploring more. And it was an interesting conversation to have with Satan, of all people, or beings. And, there were some other things that were kind of revealed, and I'm curious as to who the other 8 wives are of Satan, so got to figure that out. Mysteries to solve, those things. Anyways, so I just wanted to do a quick video on this because I think it was a really important topic to discuss. So let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and thanks once again to my Patreon supporters. Love you all.